I'm going to hit my record button so that we can have this training for future use for everybody. And we'll go on and get started because I know y'all's time is precious. I'm going to share my screen here and start. Does that look right, Dee? Okay, thanks. All right, welcome to the governing board training for today. We are talking about performance framework, and today we're going to focus on the organizational framework. We always read the mission. So the mission of the Charter School Authorizer Board is to authorize high quality charter schools, particularly schools designed to expand opportunities for underserved students. We'll start with introductions. I'm Amy Tisdale. I'm general counsel for the Authorizer Board. I've been here about 2 years. I think y'all all know me. So I'll throw it over to Dee and let him do an introduction.
Hey, thank you, Amy. Good morning. For those of you who I haven't met, I'm Diaworski McDonald. I'm the deputy director here in the office, and I'm approaching my year anniversary in January. So I'm super excited about that. I've learned so much and got a chance to work with so many of you. And those who I haven't worked with, I look forward to working with you as I continue this work. And I'll toss it to my good buddy, Dr. Ladora Harris.
Hey, good morning, everyone. So good to see you and be with you and looking forward to this training. I'm Ladora, as Dr. D said. I'm with SR1 CPSA as a board member.
All right, next on my list here is Joanne Rucker. Would you go next?
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. I am Joanne Rucker, Executive Director with Instant Impact Global Prep. I was looking for my board president. She'll be on shortly. And so I'll go on and introduce her name just in case, and that's Gloria Chapman Brooks.
Thank you. Is anybody wanting to go next?
My name is Aurelia Jones-Taylor, and I am the board chair for Clarksdale Collegiate Public Charter School.
Good morning, Amanda Johnson, Executive Director and founder of Clarksdale Collegiate. We also have Millicent Dixon on, who is a board member as well. That's everybody from Clarksdale Collegiate.
Hey, I'm Tony Yarber. I'm Director of Schools at Midtown Public Charter School, and I'm going to pass it to Yolanda.
Good morning, everyone. A board member with Midtown Partners. Midtown Partners and also Midtown Public Charter School, and a stakeholder in the Midtown community.
The Republic team can go next. I'm Trey Bernacci. I'm the Regional Director of Operations for Republic Charter Schools here in Jackson, and I'll pass it to Erica Huffman.
Hey guys, Erica Huffman. I'm the board chair at Republic Schools, and I will pass it to Christy Hendricks.
Hey, good morning. I'm Christy Hendricks, Executive Director of Midtown Partners. We officially hold the charter for Midtown Public.
Morning, everyone. I am Cassandra Hansbrough with the Mississippi Delta Academy, specifically board member with LaFleur Legacy Academy in Greenwood, Mississippi.
All right, we just admitted a few new people. We're doing introductions right now. Did either of y'all want to do an introduction?
Sure. This is Marcus Berger, board chair for Ambition Prep.
Good morning. This is Dr. Mims with LaFleur Legacy Academy, vice chair.
Good morning, Tamala with LaFleur Legacy Academy. Good morning.
Good morning. Is there anybody else who wanted to do an introduction?
Hi, I'm Gloria Chapman Brooks. I'm with Instant Impact Global Prep Charter School, and I am the board president.
All right. Well, good morning. Was there anybody else who wanted to do an introduction? Did we get everybody? Okay, well, thank you so much and welcome today. I really appreciate y'all taking your time to come and listen to our presentation. We'll just get going because I know y'all's time is precious. We are going to start with the legal basis for the performance framework, and I won't read the whole thing, but I will note that it does include a requirement for indicators, measures, and metrics for this list of items. At a minimum. And that means that we must include these items in a performance framework, but we can include other reasonable things. Pertinent to today's training is item I, the board performance and stewardship, including compliance with all applicable laws, regulations, and terms of the charter contract. And that's basically the org framework. I will also note that the performance framework is included in the charter contract by reference. The objective of the performance framework is to balance the need for the board to provide oversight with respect to the school's autonomy by providing clear standards and expectations for the schools, providing a transparent, consistent oversight process that is respectful of school autonomy, and providing a focus on student outcomes, not inputs. That also encompasses the MCSAB's role. And our breakdown is academic framework, financial framework, and org framework, which is what we're focusing on today. We have already done a training on academic framework, which most of you probably were at, and also a financial framework recently with Cindy Shoemaker. And today's organizational framework will finish up this, I guess, segment of trainings. And those trainings are actually also the academic and financial framework trainings are actually available on our website, and we'll look at those later. So today, talking about the organizational framework, and the goal is to provide information to the authorizer on whether the schools are meeting the minimum requirements of the law and the charter contract. There are 6 indicators, which we will look at individually as we move through the presentation. Each indicator includes measures and metrics that provide the details to evaluate the indicator. And you can see those 6 indicators here. We're going to go through them in detail right now. The first indicator is educational program requirements. And the first measure under that indicator is essential terms of the charter contract. This measure is based on the alignment of your educational model to the essential terms in the charter contract. And I'm actually going to try to escape. And Dee, are you seeing the screen with which screen are you seeing?
Your presentation.
Okay. So you see the contract exhibit C right now?
Yes, we see it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So this is an example of a blank contract, and that shows, which many of you are familiar with, I assume. You've got your school name and your mission and vision, and then your essential terms, and then those become a part of your contract. Okay. Back to here. All right. Yes. Okay. So you can, if you need a refresher on what your essential terms are, which I imagine you may not, but you could, you can find your contracts on our website. This measure is not meant to evaluate whether you have met these terms, just to ensure that your educational model aligns to them. So it's alignment to the educational model and adherence to essential terms listed in your contract. And we would look at your contract and any approved amendments, your board meeting agendas and packets, reports and minutes, any site visit observations or renewal applications as applicable, and your website. This measure notes the measure notes in the companion guidance say to consider interventions issued, authorizer notes, remediation status, or return to good standing notices when determining compliance. So if the school fulfills all legal and contractual obligations, they would get a meets expectations. Mhm. The next measure under indicator 1 is educational program requirements, which is also, which is based on the evidence of compliance with specific elements of your educational program as required by law. And that would be your Mississippi State Standards requirements, instructional days requirements, compliance with the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics policy, graduation and program requirements, and state assessments. And the compliance is, the sources used would be based on the statement of assurance and no verified complaints. And then consider, again, that same language about interventions issued, authorizer notes, remediation status, or return to good standing notices when considering compliance.
Amy, can I interject here? So you guys, please note that when you submit your statement of assurance, that assurance is referencing the previous school year, and you must capture any notice of concerns, any corrective actions, any school improvement plans in that particular assurance. So remember, it references the previous year, not the current year that we're in.
All right, and we're going to go, if I can get this, here we go. We're going to go look at, all right, are you seeing my statement of assurance there?
Yes.
Okay, this is an example of a statement of assurance, and you would fill that out and sign it. And it's basically certifying to the MCSAB that the school is in compliance with all applicable federal, state, and local laws, regulations, and ordinances, as well as all obligations in the charter contract. And if you look down on the second page here, there's a section for open or pending compliance issues, a description and the status. And that would be where you put any information about any notices of concern or other interventions issued, also any MDE findings and things like that, to let us know what has been happening, if necessary. All right, and then we'll go back to slide here. Okay, so on 1B, if the school has fulfilled all legal and contractual obligations, then they would obviously receive a meets expectations. The next indicator, the next measure is teacher and employee credentialing requirements. This is based on compliance with state law that requires 75% of charter school teachers to be licensed, and that all teachers and administrators must have a bachelor's degree. Also, that schools may not employ non-immigrant foreign workers, regardless of visa status, without a waiver from the authorizer. So the sources that we use would be the board member and school staff information form, and then also any site visit results if they're applicable. And we can also go to MECA for verification if we need to. You'll notice that this measure does not have an approaches expectations option for the measure score. Throughout the framework, most compliance measures do not have an approaches expectations option for the measure score. But when the National Association for Charter School Authorizers guidance includes an approaches expectations measure score option for compliance measures, we did keep that to stay in alignment with NACSA standards, as you saw in the first two measures of this indicator. The last measure for indicator 1 is the annual chronic absenteeism rate. And that is a performance measure. And what we do for this one is collect the chronic absenteeism rate from a report provided to us by MDE and match the percentage to the measure score, so that if it is less than or equal to 13%, that would meet expectations. The internal companion guidance also says to consider interventions issued, authorizer notes, remediation status, or return to good standing notices when determining compliance. MDE considers a student who misses 10% or more of the school year as chronically absent, so with a 180-day required schedule, that would be 18 days. We do understand that this is an area that many schools struggle with nationwide, so we do try to take that into consideration. So with this being the last measure in indicator 1, what we do at this point is take the average, take them each measure score and average them together to get the indicator score. And that's true for all the measures in the indicators for the performance framework. Moving on to indicator 2, enrollment and admissions. This first measure is underserved student enrollment percentage requirements. This is a compliance measure that evaluates if a school is complying with the requirement in the law that a charter school's underserved population reflects 80% or greater of the percentage of the geographic district's underserved population. So what we do is collect the district data from an MDE document that we received from them for both the free lunch enrollment by grade level and the students with disabilities by grade level, and divide the charter school's percentage by the district percentage. And then if that result is less than 80%, the school would fail the measure. At 80% or greater, the school meets the expectations. And these calculations are performed separately in the workbook and then scored separately. But because this is a compliance measure, both of these requirements must be met to receive a meets expectations on this measure. And I will note here that because some schools have a CEP designation, they may not report free lunch status of individual students, and those schools would be considered to have 100% free lunch. The next measure is enrollment and admissions requirements. And this is also a compliance measure. It includes the recruitment and enrollment policy, lottery policy, non-discriminatory admissions, and attendance laws and truancy policy. And this is based on the annual statement of assurances as well. We then confirm that there are no verified complaints and consider any interventions issued, etc. And I'll take a moment here to mention that your charter contract allows for enrollment of up to 120% of projected enrollment before you must file a contract amendment. So for example, if your projected enrollment was for 100 students, then you can enroll up to 120 students before you would need to be doing a contract amendment with the authorizer. The last measure under indicator 2 is recurrent enrollment rate. This is a performance measure that looks at the changes in the school's enrollment from year to year to see if the school is retaining students. And we all know that enrollment is essential to the school's financial viability. For this one, we gather net membership from MDE's publicly reported superintendent's annual report and take the current year net membership, subtract the previous year net membership, and then divide it by the previous year net membership. That gives us a percentage that is then matched to the measure scores. So a decrease of less than 10% meets expectations. And as a note, this does not apply until a school has operated for 2 full years. The next indicator is indicator 3, discipline. And the first measure, well, there are 2 measures under this indicator. The first is student discipline requirements. This is a compliance measure and is also based on the annual statement of assurances with no verified complaints. And the internal companion guidance measure notes say to consider interventions issued, etc. We've said that a couple of times, so you know that one. So to meet the measure requirement, you would need to fulfill these obligations by having these policies and abiding by them. That's the student code of conduct and the discipline policy. The next measure, or the second and last measure under this indicator, is in-school and out-of-school suspension and expulsion rates. This is a performance measure, and we gather the data needed from the Mississippi Succeeds report card, or since some public MDE data is masked for less than 5%, we would get it from data we receive from MDE directly. So for each of these three areas, the in-school suspension rate, the out-of-school suspension rate, and the expulsion rates, the district rate and the charter school rate are gathered and then put into the workbook, which then evaluates the difference between the two rates. So if the difference is at or below the district rate, the measure score meets expectations. If it's higher than the district rate, but not more than 2.5% of it, sorry, not more than 2.5% higher, it approaches, and so on. The next indicator is indicator 4, special populations. The first measure is 4A, students with disabilities rights and requirements. This is a compliance measure. Both this one and the next one are compliance measures that have an approaches measure score to comply with NACSA. And this is another measure where we base the measure scores on data created by MDE, since MDE routinely monitors all special education services in public schools. So if the school fulfills all legal and contractual obligations, it gets and meets expectations. The next measure under indicator 4, the last measure under indicator 4, is English learner student rights and requirements. And this is very similar to the previous measure in that we base the measure score on data created by MDE. And this one would be through the MDE Office of Federal Programs and Grants Management, and they provide routine oversight for English learner services in all of Mississippi public schools. For both this and the previous measure, MCSAB can use their own monitoring as applicable to determine compliance. The next indicator is indicator 5, school environment. And there are 3 measures under this indicator. The first is facilities, health, safety, and transportation requirements. This measure evaluates compliance, relevant inspections, codes, and regulations related to facilities, health and safety, and transportation, including the local and state fire and life safety codes, public health sanitary codes, ADA requirements, transportation plan, bus safety protocols, health service requirements, and property insurance. The sources used are listed here. You'll notice this is another measure where we rely on the annual statement of assurances. MCSAB can also rely on any site visit that has been conducted within the school year that is being evaluated. Dee, did you have a note you were gonna?
Yes, Amy, on the property insurance piece, make sure you guys make sure we understand that the insurance obtained shall provide the authorizer with the ability to file a claim for any loss of property purchased with state or federal funds. So I'm not sure what the terminology is, but we have to make sure that the authorizer is considered, I think it may be a rider or additionally insured in case we need to file a claim for any property loss that was purchased with state or federal funds. So speak with your insurance provider to make sure that that is applicable, and the authorizer is able to do that if loss is incurred.
Thank you, Dee. The next measure is 5B, student records and information handling requirements. And this measure evaluates whether the school is in compliance with student records information management. It includes public records requirements and student record keeping and record transfer requirements. We rely on the annual statement of assurances here, but also can rely on a site visit report if applicable. The next measure, 5C, is background check requirements. This is another measure where we rely on the annual assurance statement with no verified complaints. We can also rely on a site visit report if applicable here as well. And this includes background checks for all teachers, other school personnel, as well as members of the governing board. And
it's 22 folks in the meeting.
Okay. Well, I'll say that again. This includes background checks for all teachers, other school personnel, as well as members of the governing board and any ESP that the school contracts with. The last measure for indicator 5 is 5D employee rights and requirements. This measure evaluates whether a school is complying with obligations to do with employee rights, including FMLA, ADA, and any employment contracts. The primary source to prove compliance is the annual assurance statement with no verified complaints. The last indicator is governance and reporting. It has 2 measures, the first of which is the school board governance requirements. I'm having to admit people as they come in. So there we go. The last indicator is governance and reporting, and it has 2 measures, the first of which is the school board governance requirements. For this measure, we are looking to be sure the school is in compliance with the requirements to be a nonprofit, the requirements for the Open Meetings Act, and Public Records Act, FERPA, and their charter board bylaws, conflict of interest policy, and the charter board composition. We use Epicenter submissions as a source, and also information from MDE to evaluate compliance, and can also
Amy, can you just operate the mute and mute the participant?
I'm struggling with my separate.
You just go to participants and hover over and mute.
I think I got it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, let's begin again with indicator 6. I'm sorry about that, y'all. The first measure for indicator 6 is school board governance requirements. For this measure, we're looking to be sure the school is in compliance with the requirements to be a nonprofit, also for Open Meetings Act, Public Records Act, FERPA, the charter board bylaws, conflict of interest policy, and the charter board composition. And we would look at the Secretary of State's website for the charity search, the IRS tax exempt organization search, those 2 to be sure that the school is in compliance. And for all the other ones, we would look to the annual statement of assurances and no verified complaints to be sure that the school is in compliance. We can also use other sources listed here to ensure compliance. Measure 6B is MCSAB and MDE reporting, training, and meeting requirements. This measure is to make sure that schools are fulfilling all their legal and contractual obligations relating to those reporting, training, and meeting requirements. We use Epicenter submissions and information from MDE to evaluate compliance and can also consider interventions issued, etc. Schools do have a 5-day grace period before these submissions are considered late. And because this is a compliance measure, compliance with all of the evidence lists, all of the items listed in the evidence list is must be met in order to receive and meet expectations. Okay, this slide shows the top of the summary report page in the performance framework report, and then the organizational section of it, and we'll look at the whole thing here in a minute. Each school receives this performance framework report and the oral performance section of that report. Here you will see each indicator we just talked about. So that's the educational program requirements, enrollment and admissions, discipline, special populations, school environment, and governance and reporting. And those 6 indicators are averaged together to get the overall rating for the organizational performance framework. Dee, did you have a comment about that?
Yes, thank you, Amy. Leaders, you should have received your draft performance framework and supporting documents on Wednesday, the 13th. If you have not received those, please let us know. Also note that you have 15 days to respond to any factual errors in writing to the MCSAB. And if you have not received those, as a reminder, please let us know.
Thank you, Dee. In relation to the slide we were just looking at, this is the annual performance framework report page. At the top portion here with the school information, and then the organizational performance section is down here. So also, while I'm not in the PowerPoint, I will go over and show y'all the MCSAB website, where you can go to the resources page, scroll down to performance framework, click on it, and you can find the performance framework here, the framework and the guidance for academic, financial, and organizational. You can also, if you click on resources, you can find the trainings that we have done here and any presentation slides if you want to look back. And this presentation will be available here once we get done and get it to Jordan. All right, so next. All right, we just covered the information that's available on the MCSAB website. You can contact me or Dee with any questions you may have. And does anyone have any questions at this moment they would like to ask? Okay, last call. All right, well, that concludes our presentation for today. Y'all sure y'all don't have any questions?
I just have one quick question. For information on how to, for record of showing that you attended a session, is it anything that are you all going to send an email, or would we just show for attending this session? So I see that's a part of trainings and everything.
We do keep an attendance. We make sure that when we review the recording, that we record who was here, and we just keep that for our records.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Okay. Well, thank y'all so much for learning with us today. I hope y'all have a great Friday and a good weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Will this recording be on the Mississippi authorization website in order for us to go back and look at it again if possible?
Yes, ma'am, it will be.
All right. I thank you and have a blessed day.
You're welcome. You too. Thanks so much.